What is up, Rangers fans? Welcome along to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James. This is all your latest Rangers news. We've got news on a possible, exit strategy for Jose Cifuentes, one of the players who has been told that he is surplus to requirements at Ibrox this season. Also, the very latest on Hamza and Thelo Aasgaard ahead of the Champions League tie on Wednesday. Obviously, both were in a race to be fit. Conflicting reports really about Thelo Aasgaard, and we'll get to those very shortly. Right, let's start off with news on Mr. Jose Cifuentes. Now, if you remember, Jose Cifuentes, when he joined the club, was meant to be the generational game changer, wasn't he? He was meant to be that box-to-box midfielder that would change Rangers for the better, as that Cockney fraud, Mr. Michael Beale, said. But look, it never really worked out for him, did it? He never really lived up to being that player. He looked like he was a yard too slow. He didn't really like living in Scotland. Apparently it was too cold for him. I mean, what was he expecting? Tropical weather? I mean, it rains in Scotland. That's just a fact, you know. I think, as Billy Connolly once said, someone said, I went to Scotland once, it was raining. Of course it was fucking raining. Yes, that's right, it's raining. But look, it's not going to change. So the rumour is that Cifuentes is the subject of a number of transfer bids, a number of transfer interests, shall we say, from South America and from North America. MLS teams are reportedly showing an interest in him, but not just MLS teams, also apparently Brazilian teams showing an interest in the Ecuadorian midfielder. Sporting Recife, one of the latest names to be linked with the player. Now, Rangers have ruled out a move, though, to Sporting Recife, or I think that's the name of the team. It's something Recife, anyway, because they want to take the player on loan. Now, Rangers have said that they are not willing to allow Cifuentes to leave on loan again, and the only way now for Jose Cifuentes to exit the club is on a permanent basis. They're going to start playing a little bit of hardball when it comes to Cifu. I mean, look, I'm glad about this. At the end of the day, look, he's had a loan. He went out to Aris. It didn't work out in terms of coming back and actually getting that move. He played 29 times for Aris in the Super League in Greece. He scored 1 goal, 3 assists. Didn't massively impress. And, you know, it is very much the case that that Rangers don't want him at the club anymore, and they don't see him as having a future at the club anymore. But like I said, they're only prepared to allow him to leave on a permanent basis. Now, he was at the Rangers Club Brugge game in the stands watching on, and has not featured as part of any of the pre-season games, even the closed door games. So look, that's the way it works out. Now, he joined Rangers for 1.2 million in August of 2023. So I think it's fairly safe to say that Rangers will be looking to make their money back on the player. You know, he's had a couple of loan spells for Cruzeiro, now Aris. Obviously came back from Aris, like I said. But like I said, the only way that Rangers are going to allow him to leave is basically on a permanent basis. This deal that Sport Recife were offering was a 5-month loan deal until the end of the season with the option to buy. However, Rangers have said the only way that they would actually sanction that loan deal would be if it was an obligation to buy in the contract, very much like the one that we signed with Oscar Cortez. So they're only prepared to sanction any move that if it is with a view to being a permanent transfer. And like I said, I think this is the right move because it's quite clear that the player has no future at the club. It's quite clear that Rangers want to get some money back for him now. I mean, we don't want to send him out on loan then in 12 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever, end up getting him back again and face this same issue in 5, 6 months or 12 months time. You know, it is a situation that we do want clearly resolved. Now, his contract runs until 2027. So again, he's in the optimal period for being sold. You know, as I've said on a number of videos now, when you get down to that final 2 years to go on your contract, that is when you've got to kind of go to the player and you say, right, well, we do want you to stay. Let's negotiate a new contract, or look, I'm sorry, we don't think it's worked out for you here. It's time for you to move on. So that is very much where we are with Jose Cifuentes now. So let's hope that something can be reached in terms of an agreement with the player and a team, whether that be in Brazil or in the MLS. But interesting nonetheless that Rangers have said no loan unless it is a loan with an obligation to buy or it is a permanent transfer out of the club. Now, Rangers will want their full strength squad available for the second leg of the Champions League qualifier out in Athens on Wednesday night. Now, Rangers have put themselves in a fantastic position after a 2-0 victory at Ibrox. With two fantastic goals from Finlay Curtis and JD Gassama, or Gassam, if you're going with Tom, the commentator's pronunciation of the player's name. I mean, look, realistically, like I said a number of times, I think 2-0 is often a dangerous lead. Arsene Wenger himself said 2-0 is the most dangerous lead in football. 1-0, you know that you've got to keep it tight. You've got to be very much focused on being defensive and holding that. If you've lost or drawn, then you've got to know that you've got to then go for it. But when you're at 2-0, there's kind of a bit of a confidence there because you've got 2 goals, but an early goal for the opposition, and that uncertainty will obviously fly through any squad. So, Looking at this game on Wednesday night, obviously the best players are needed to be available. Now, 2 of those players that Rangers would certainly want available are Aasgaard, the new signing from Luton, the creative midfielder from Norway, who is yet to feature in any, well, has featured but has not featured in any of the what would I call it? The open friendlies, the friendlies in front of a stadium audience. He's obviously played in that pre-season friendly where he got injured, the one behind closed doors. He has not yet featured didn't feature against Club Brugge, didn't feature against Middlesbrough, and obviously didn't feature against Panathinaikos. Hamza, who did play against Panathinaikos and picked up a knock, as Russell Martin said, in that tie. Now, it emerges that today both have missed training ahead of this game. Now, it's not known yet whether that was the fact that the club held them out because of the fact they wanted to give them the best possible opportunity to be fully fit and then train tomorrow, or be in a position to actually play tomorrow. It's a difficult situation. Now, the chances, obviously, if you've missed training to then play 24 hours later or 24 hours plus later is very highly doubtful, and it looks like Rangers will be without both Hamza Igerman and, of course, Aasgaard as well. Now, this goes kind of against where we were with Thello. Now, we were told realistically that his injury was on the heel, that he was pretty much back. It was just a case of, him just finishing off his rehab and being ready to go. It now appears that with him missing training today, that he's not in that position, and he may obviously be out of that tie against Panathinaikos. Now, Rangers have a number of players in those positions. Now, obviously, the centre-forward position is a bit more dubious, with only Danilo being fully fit and fully match fit going into this tie. Now, obviously, Danilo has impressed in pre-season. Not only in pre-season training, where he's been reported to be working extremely hard, showing great levels of fitness and great commitment to improving and working very well with the new management staff, but also in games where he's scored goals. Most recently, obviously, that fantastic header from the beautiful setup from Mr. Max Aarons in that game in the fight back against Middlesbrough in the last half an hour at Ibrox on Saturday. A beautiful flicked header from Danilo. Now, Danilo is a top player. We know that. And if he can stay injury-free, then hopefully he can go on to prove that he's worth somewhere near that 6 million, or at least worth that 6 million that we paid for him. Look, I personally like Danilo. I think he's a good player. I think, I've looked back and watched him, in his tape at Feyenoord and Ajax. He looks a good all-round footballer. I still maintain he's the best all-round striker at the club. Now, people will come back and say, well, this has scored more goals than him. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is all-round player in terms of link-up play, movement, passing ability to float into different areas of the pitch. He is a better all-round player. Dessers very much is a player who will stay centrally. He will not, move around a great deal. He is more a central striker, a number 9, and up against the last man kind of player. Danilo, obviously, as well, I think better fits the way that Russell Martin likes his centre forwards to play. If you noticed on Saturday, there was a number of times where Danilo would drop back in closer to the midfield to link play and start attacks. Obviously, come back, hold it, flick it out to the wings, or push it into the creative midfield players to then push it out to the wings to create and to start attacks. And that's very much how Martin likes his players to play, something that is not, a normal technical skill of someone like Cifu Dessers, for example. So it appears that going into this game on Wednesday night, obviously Danilo is obviously in prime position to start again. With Dessers, I think, on the bench and likely to be introduced at some point, obviously, as he was last week. Now, in terms of Aasgaard, it looks like he is definitely out and will not feature at all, which obviously then looks like the midfield for the game on Wednesday night will be something along the lines of, now we don't know for definite what it will be, but it looks like it will be something along the lines of Raskin, Rothwell and Diamonde, the same 3 that played against Panathinaikos in the first leg, especially obviously given the fact that both Joe Rothwell, who was excellent against Panathinaikos, and Mohamed Diamonde were rested in the Middlesbrough game, and one did not feature in the slightest, even off the bench, in that game on Saturday. As for the front three, it appears highly likely that Finlay Curtis will maintain his position. Finley's been absolutely outstanding pre-season, and Finlay was a player that I championed, last season especially. This is a lad who has got all the talent in the world and all the potential in the world to really go on and be a major star, not only for Rangers but of Scottish football as well going forward. Scored 3 in 3 as well, worth noting. And then obviously it looks like the other wing may well be, well, look, I'm really hoping that Russell Martin doesn't start Kieran Dow. Now, look, not wishing to slag the lad off, but he just isn't a footballer. He just looks so poor and so out of place in that Rangers team. And I think Kieran Dow was best summarised by that incident in the second half against Middlesbrough, where he nutmegs a player, leaves him for dead, and then the cross nearly takes out Russell Martin on the halfway line in the technical area. That's how bad it actually was. So my hope is that he goes to, say, someone like Cortez or Gassam out there to, really sort of still maintain that balance and still give us a chance to attack and take on Panathinaikos, who I maintain are not that good a side. They are certainly not Olympiakos. And I think we've got to take confidence from the fact that we took a worse team last year to Piraeus and got a draw out of Olympiakos, who are, of course, the reigning Greek champions. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Who would you start on Wednesday night against Panathinaikos? I mean, personally, look, if you were pinning me down to a starting lineup, I think he will definitely go with, obviously, Jack Butland in goal, who was outstanding against Panathinaikos. Butland was rested again, obviously, on Saturday against Middlesbrough. I think the back four, kind of picks itself at the moment, obviously given, where players are in their development, where players are in terms of their fitness. I think the full-backs will be James Tavernier and Max Aarons, because, Aarons is a better right back, and I think is the best. I'll maintain what I've said. He's the best right back at the club, but the issue is that Hjefte had an opportunity to impress on Saturday, didn't really, and it does seem like Russell Martin is not the biggest fan of Hjefte, hence why I'd rather play a right back at left back. Tavernier obviously will captain the team. No matter what you think of James Tavernier, no matter where you stand on the whole James Tavernier debate. The centre backs will be Suter and Giga, I think. Midfield three will be Rothwell, Dio, and Raskan, and the front three will be something like Dowell. I think Dowell will start. Unfortunately, I think it's a massive mistake starting him, but he will start him. He does seem to, I don't know, the manager seems to like him for some reason. I don't get it myself, but hey, that's why I'm not manager of Rangers. And Danilo will play as the centre forward, and I think Finlay Curtis will start on the left, guys. That's my predictions anyway for the starting 11. Let me know yours in the comments. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.